All right, welcome back again. We are in, I guess, the third walkthrough, fourth video. I think in the last one, I mentioned that we would kind of continue down the styling path, but I think really what we should do is try to get some success now with the JavaScript portion. You know, we have some HTML on the page, we have some CSS that's being applied to it. And I think what we really want to do is kind of dig into the JavaScript at this point. And get some success there. I mean, we did the console log just to test, but we really want to start writing some JavaScript, start interacting, and getting some of these core features down. For me, looking at this, the first core feature that I want to add into this is probably the ability to. I think I closed it. Just open this again. Probably is be able to press RPS and have some sort of action taking place at that point. So in order to do that, we need to, write some JavaScript. So let's kind of get into that at this point. So what I want to do is we need to monitor a key press. So we looked on Wednesday's class. If we do mdn document on key up, just see what we get there. So really, this document is going to link us back to this document. This is really what we're looking for. We're looking for this document dot on key up. So, we're kind of seeing some code snippets here. And basically how this is going to work is the on key up method is going to be set equal to a function reference. So it can either be a function that we write on basically right after the equal sign, or if we have a function that we maybe want to call, we could just have the reference to that function there. So we'll kind of see both implementations of this, I think. We'll start off with what we're familiar with and what we kind of showed on Wednesday. I think as this application starts to span out, we may kind of change this a little bit. So we'll really see how it goes. But what we're looking at is going to start doing this. So let's go back to our code here. We'll go to our JavaScript file. So now we're at a blank slate here. So what I think I want to do is I want to write a function here, right? Let's make us a little doc block. And what we want to do is we want to have, we'll just say this function will be called every time a user presses a key. So that's kind of what is going to happen on this code that's going to be below here. And what we're going to use is we're going to use this document object, which is given to us, and that's going to be available through the browser. And we're going to use that on key up method. So you can see we have a couple here: on key down, on key press, on key up. For the sake of this application, these are probably interchangeable. I really don't know if it would cause you any problems if you picked a different one, but we're going to do on key up. I think that's what we showed on last class, and we'll just kind of stick with that one. So we're going to have this document on key up, and we're going to set that equal to that either a function or, again, a function reference. So I'm going to set this equal to a function that is going to take an argument. And that argument we saw on Wednesday is going to be an event. It is common practice that this just gets shortened up to E. It's just again, common practice. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it mushroom. You can call it anything you want in here. I'm going to call it E. It's a short variable name. It's easy to reference. Again, that's a pretty common signature here. Then the last thing is we got to open up our curly brackets, and this will kind of give us the structure of how this function will look like. So all of our code that we want to have happen will take place in between these two curly brackets that are currently highlighted, the one on line 6 here and this ending one here on line 4. So all of our code needs to exist right in between those lines. So really what we want to do in here is we're going to want to define kind of what we want this thing to do. So what we really want this to do is we want to check if the user presses either, I guess, the R key, the P key, or the S key. And then if they do, what do we want to do here? I think for fun, what we can do is, well, for now, why don't we just log the key? If they do, we'll log the key. And really, if they do any other key, we will log, any other key should log like a message that says bad key or something. Let's kind of start with that. We might change kind of what this does in a minute, but at least that kind of gives us a baseline. So I kind of like writing this out in plain English to kind of describe what do I actually want to have happen here. One, it kind of helps me to write the code as I go. And then for anybody else that comes and looks at this code at a later time, they kind of understand my train of thought. Even for myself, I come back to this in an hour, a week, a month, at least kind of have an idea of what the heck I was trying to accomplish here. So I think for quick success, what I want to do is I just want to see what is this E thing, right? So if I do console.log E and just keep it at that for this function, let's see what happens there. So I'm going to save this. I believe I already have this open. I do. So I'm going to refresh this. And now I'm going to open up my Chrome DevTools and go to my console. I'm going to click here. I'm just going to start hitting a key. So you can see well, you can't see me hitting keys, but on my keyboard, I'm hitting keys. So every time I do that, a different thing is getting logged to the console. So I'm going to clear this, and I'm just going to do one, and it's going to be the R key that I just hit. So I'm going to expand this, and this is an object that is getting logged to the console here. And you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff on here. The thing that I'm interested in is really just this one right here, this key. I really want to know the letter that I'm logging or that I'm pressing. It's the only thing I'm interested in. Now, there could be other stuff maybe at a later time that I might be interested in. Maybe I have some interest in the timestamp. I don't know. Maybe I have some interest in whatever bubbles are. But for right now, I'm only interested in this key object. So to access a property of this object off the event thing, all this lives inside of E, which is that event. I can just do E.key. So I'm going to save that. So E.key, and I'm going to refresh. And now I'm going to press R again, A, S, D, F, a bunch of keys, right? So now I'm actually just getting the key that I'm pressing. So that's kind of more in line with what I want. I don't want all that other nonsense. I just want this. So that looks pretty good to me. I feel good about that working. So we know that part's there. So what I want to do is check if the user presses either the R, P, or the S key. And if they do, I want to log the key. So to me, that's an if statement. That's a condition. If something happens, then do something else. So we really want to write that out. So what I want to do is I want to wrap this console log in an if statement. So I'm going to say if E.key equals, I'm going to do triple equals, right? So we have equal, one equal would be for assignment. And then we have our triple equals, which is going to be our comparison operator. So I'm going to say if it equals R, or, which is another operator, if I do these two pipes, pipe, and would be two ampersands, that's and. I'm going to do or. So if E.key equals R, or E.key equals paper, or E.key equals scissors, then what I'm going to do is now I have some brackets here. So if any of these things are true, it's going to log the key to the console. So let's put that in there. So now all I've done is I just made a condition, right? Before I was logging every key, whether I hit A, 9, E, whatever. Now I'm saying if it's one of these three keys, then we'll log it. And I'm going to put something in here like you pressed the, I'll put a space, ending quote, plus the key, plus quote, space, key. So that'll read, you press the R key, you press the P key, whatever it might be. So let's save that and let's see if that works. I'm just looking at it. I think that makes sense to me. So I'm going to refresh this again, hit R, cool, hit P, hit S, and I'm hitting A. I don't know if you can hear it through the video. I'm slamming that A key, QWERTYUIOP, and it's P. So you can see only some of them are getting logged. I guess you have to trust me a little bit that I'm not, I don't know, hitting a different keyboard. But that conditional logic seems to be working pretty well for me. So I feel good about that. I've gotten some success there. What I want to do though is if they press any other key, I'll log a message that says like bad key or something. So I'll do a else in here. I will do a console. We'll just use the error one. You can use a console.log. I got console.error. Gives you kind of a little different feel to it. And I'll put something like you pressed a bad key. You should feel bad about it. So that looks good. So if they press R, P, or S, I'll log what we already saw. But if they log anything, if they press anything else, I'm going to log console.error. You pressed a bad key. You should feel bad about it. Let's go back. So let's test that again. This is R, P, S. Now I hit A, Q, B, M, this / the number 3. Cool. So that feels good to me. I get a nice little error message there, and I should certainly feel bad about it. So okay, I like that. The other thing I guess we could do here is, I think when we looked at the demo, I think I showed that we'll have the ability to have this landing screen and then like the game board basically. So we'll kind of toggle back and forth between the two. So I'd like the ability to really not maybe show it, but the ability to kind of show and hide these different things. We can do that with a combination of CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, kind of everything working together. I'll close that. So I'm gonna go back here. What I want to do is, actually let's go back again. What I want to do is I want to hide this. So like if they press a certain key, let's say rock, paper, or scissors, I want it to go away because then what I want to show is the game board. But then maybe if there's like a hidden key like Q for quit, it'll hide the game board and show this instead. And we can do that pretty easily using some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's take a look at that. The first thing I need to do is I need to be able to target that HTML element. So if I go back to my index.html, this is what I want to hide. I want to hide this whole Jumbotron, right? Because this is what contains all of this code. I want the container because I want everything to kind of live in the same like box there, but I don't want any of this like landing page stuff to be here. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put an ID on this. So I'm gonna set this ID equal to, let's call it like RPS Jumbotron. You can call this whatever you want, it really doesn't matter, but I'm gonna call it RPS Jumbotron and kind of be consistent. A lot of my classes and IDs are this kebab case, right? Where I have like a word and any words are separated with these dashes. And you'll see in JavaScript, I'll generally do a camel case where the first word will be lowercase, but the second will be uppercase. So I'll try to be consistent there. So I have an ID on this now, which now I can go back to my JavaScript. And I'm gonna go to the top of my file and I'm gonna make a new doc block here. And I'm just going to put in here that we're just going to have all our global variables, just variables that we're going to use throughout our application. So whenever I want to make a new variable, I'm just going to use var. And then what I want to do is I want to call, let's call this like rock, paper, scissors, Jumbotron. And I'm going to set that equal to something. So again, I'm going to use my buddy, the document object, which is the browser window. And this time I want to use a method here called get element. And you see I got a couple different options here. I can get an element by an ID, which is always going to return the first element it finds with that ID. If I do get elements by class name, I'll get an array of elements, which isn't what I want here. And we have a couple other options, but I want get element by ID. That kind of matches my use case here. And that ID I want to get is RPS Jumbotron. Let's put a semicolon here. So let's make sure that works. I'm going to console log this RPS Jumbotron and make sure that goods are as advertised, right? That I actually have this element. So again, my JavaScript file will read top to bottom. So as soon as I load this page, I should see a console log in the console there on the browser. So let's save everything. I think I changed something in index. So let's just refresh. Yeah, cool. So that's that console log right away, right? Console log the Jumbotron. What's the Jumbotron? It's get an element by its ID. What's that ID? That ID is this Jumbotron. So I have that. Apparently I pressed something. I have that Jumbotron. So that looks cool to me. So by default, if I go into here and target this Jumbotron, and I look at the computed styles, I'll see this thing under its display property has a display block. So if I go in the styles here, I'm on the Jumbotron. If I just do like display :none, it's gonna be gone. It's disappeared from the page, and that's kind of what I want to do. And then obviously, if I uncheck that, it'll be block. So we know by default it's block, and I can change it to none, and it will go away. So I think that's a fun way to kind of make that disappear. So now what I can do is, where's my JavaScript? If I go back to my JavaScript file, how about now when I press the RPS key, we'll still log it, but I want to use that global variable, which is that RPS Jumbotron. And now I want to drill into that element. So I can go into the style. So just like I would any other element, you know, I'm looking at the styles here. Those HTML elements have a style that I can access, and I can access any attribute from that I could modify with CSS. So we just looked at it. The attribute I want to access is display, and I'm going to set its display equal to none. And I just got to make sure the value of what I'm setting is in quotes here. That's important. Otherwise, that wouldn't work. So I'll set its value to none, and let's save it, and let's go back. So I'm going to refresh it, and it's still there. I'm hitting A and oops, let's go to the console. Hitting A and Q and 1. But if I hit R, I hit E a bunch of times. If I hit R, it goes away. If I press R, it doesn't come back. If I press E, it doesn't come back. So it looks like it's gone, but it looks like it's hidden, so which is cool. So that's definitely what we wanted. So I think the second part of that is we need to find a way to bring it back. So I think what we want to do here is we want to add some extra condition in here. So right now we have this else. I want to move this guy down. And what I want to do is I want to make it else if. And this time what I want to check is if e.key is now equal to q. So that'll be like our hidden key, like only we know about it. I don't really care if the user particularly knows about this. It doesn't really change anything for me. Just gonna bring that back up. So I'm not gonna display this because it's whatever. I don't necessarily need them to be able to go back to the rules, but this will kind of just be a little hidden Easter egg for us. So what we'll do is here, let's do, just for fun, let's do like a console. Let's do a .warn this time. Just a different thing we can do on the console. And we'll just have the same message actually. Let's put that here and just change it to warn. So you press the whatever key. And then the other thing I want to do now is I need to get that Jumbotron. And we saw, I don't want to set it to none because this will be like the opposite of that, right? So I'll set it back to block. So how this will work is when this loads up, we already know the default behavior is that Jumbotron will be display block. As soon as I press any key on the keyboard, this function will be called every single time I press a key, whether it's a letter, a number, whatever. So it's going to check if it's one of these three keys, it's going to log it and hide it. If it's this key, it's going to log it and show it. And even if it's already showed, it'll just stay showed. And if it's anything else, it's just going to say, you press a bad key. So a lot going on here, but I think this should work. So let's take a save and let's go back and refresh. So I'm back to it's showing. I'm going to press R and it's gone. I'm going to press Q and it's back. And there's our warning message. It's yellow. Press A. So we got regular, yellow, and red. So I'm going to press P. It's gone. Q. It's back. S. It's gone. Q. It's back. R, Q, R, Q, R, Q, R, Q, R, Q, R, Q. You get it. So pretty cool. I'm able to kind of manipulate the page a little bit, which is a little bit of CSS, a little bit of JavaScript, a little bit of HTML, and we're already starting to get kind of like a dynamic interaction going on with the page. So pretty cool. I think what I want to do is just go back and kind of update my comments here. So if they do, I log the key and hide the Jumbotron. Spell right, Jumbotron. It looks good. If they press the Q key, show the Jumbotron again, and log the key in a warning. And any other key should log a message that says bad key in an error. Cool. So I'm a little bit more descriptive now, and if anybody comes in, they can just read this documentation and get a good sense of what's going on here. So pretty powerful. Already we're doing some logic where we're checking key presses and we're hiding and we're doing a bunch of stuff. Some of this is, I guess, critical to the game actually working. Some of it is just more, fun stuff. Just kind of doing some live coding and just messing around as we go. So that looks good. Not that my comments would change anything, but I press R, it goes away. I press Q, it's back. R, Q, R, Q, R, Q, R, Q. Okay, so we look good there. I think at this point in the next one, what I think we want to start doing is if we're able to hide that, I think what we want to start doing then is having something else to show, right? We need to toggle this back and forth. So I think in the next video, we will, we'll still hide this on key press, but then it'll show something different, which will kind of be our game board. And once we have our game board, which will have what the user picks and the computer picks and the scoreboard, then we can actually start listening to those events and starting to compare, who throws rock, who throws scissors, and how the points work, and all that other stuff. So I think we have a little bit more styling to do, and then I think we're going to be basically all JavaScript from there on out. So I will see you in the next video for that part, and we'll take it from there.